This is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Midday Report. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and these are the latest headlines. The European Commission has approved the first national plans under the EU's new Security Action for Europe Defence Financing Programme, but Poland is not among the countries cleared in the initial round. The Commission confirmed that plans from 8 member states, including Belgium, Bulgaria, Denmark, Spain, Croatia, Cyprus, Portugal, and Romania, received approval. SAFE is a new EU program providing up to 150 billion euros in low-interest loans to support joint military procurement, with a strong focus on European-made equipment. 19 member states have applied to take part, including Poland, which submitted a request worth nearly 44 billion euros. As EU sources told the Polish press agency that Poland's application is expected to be approved in the coming weeks, with the Commission set to complete its assessment of all submissions by the end of January. Europe is increasing its military presence in Greenland, with countries including France, Germany, and Sweden sending troops for joint drills amid President Trump's push to claim the territory. Poland has ruled out military involvement, but announced its ambassador to Denmark will travel to Greenland to assess the situation.
Europe is increasing its military presence in Greenland. France, Germany, Sweden, Norway and Netherlands have confirmed they will send troops to take part in joint military drills in Greenland amid Donald Trump's push to take over the Arctic territory.
I don't think troops in Europe impact the president's decision-making process, nor does it impact his goal of the acquisition of Greenland at all.
He made very clear in his inaugural address that one of his benchmarks of success for his second administration is territorial expansion. That is an unfortunate reality.
And that despite the fact that among US voters, support for invasion of Greenland is low.
I don't think it's in the interest of the US, and it's polling at 4% approve of the idea of using military force to take Greenland. And 4%, that's about the bottom floor in any polling question. They call it in the polling community the lizard man number, because 4% of Americans will apparently say that lizard men are trying to take over the world.
The US already has a military base in Greenland, but Donald Trump says he will not be satisfied with anything short of US control of the whole territory. Experts warn, though, that Trump's potential takeover could hurt American interests in the long term.
He would create such damage to the alliance that would probably break apart. And that would do nothing to the benefit of the United States.
While most of Europe has demonstrated its support for Denmark over Greenland, Poland's president and the Hungarian prime minister, both of them close Trump allies, have taken a different line. The Hungarian PM has shared a quote from Polish President Karol Nawrocki, saying that the Greenland dispute should remain a matter between the Prime Minister of Denmark and President Donald Trump. In the meantime, discussions over Greenland continue. On Friday, a bipartisan delegation of US lawmakers arrived in Copenhagen to meet with leaders of Denmark and the autonomous territory of Greenland.
A deep freeze grips Ukraine as relentless Russian strikes cripple energy infrastructure. In Kyiv, families huddle in shelters and emergency crews work non-stop to restore power. With temperatures near negative 20 degrees Celsius, Ukraine has declared a state of emergency and launched an international push to help to keep the lights and heat on.
These tents are proving a lifeline in Kyiv, where hard-pressed residents are offered a warm welcome and hot food. 15,000 people have sought shelter so far at pop-up heating points like these. Intense Russian attacks on energy infrastructure have plunged much of the Ukrainian capital into darkness. As temperatures approached minus 20 Celsius, some 200,000 had no heat and power earlier this week, according to the Red Cross humanitarian network. 70 emergency crews are now working round the clock in Kyiv to restore power supplies.
The equipment burned out, and as a result, the disconnect switches were damaged. What really motivates us is when everything is done, you press the button and the building, click, lights up.
President Volodymyr Zelensky has declared a state of emergency.
First and foremost, to increase electricity imports and expand all backup supply options. There are specific tasks for the Ministry of Internal Affairs regarding support points in cities, including providing people with accurate information.
One Ukrainian politician told TVP World about the resilience she had witnessed in the city.
And you cannot absolutely plan your day. You cannot feed your kids. You cannot provide like the basic level of security and comfort for yourself. But we never have heard anyone saying, let's give in to Russia. And this is something pretty amazing because everybody understands why this is happening to us, who the enemy is. And our goal right now is to spend energy on what we can and is to help each other.
The UK on Friday announced additional emergency funding of $27 million to repair, restore and protect Ukraine's power grid, as Kyiv launched what it has dubbed an energy Ramstein after the international military support group to help tackle the country's power shortfalls.
Ahead of the planned signing of the EU-Mercosur deal, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa are set to hold a trilateral meeting with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The agreement has triggered protests across Europe, with Polish farmers voicing a strong opposition.
Von der Leyen is set to sign the hugely contentious EU-Mercosur agreements in Asunción, Paraguay, which are the culmination of over 25 years of negotiations. The deal has triggered waves of protests across Europe, with farmers taking to the streets of Brussels as recently as Friday. Thousands of Polish farmers expressed their displeasure with the deal on the streets of Warsaw last week.
We cannot compete with them because they produce far more cheaply, and they use chemicals that have long been banned in Poland.
While unpopular with farmers, analysts have argued that Mercosur could be of geopolitical and economic benefit to Poland and the EU. Furthermore, Jean-Victor Malblanc, a lecturer in public law at the University of Poitiers, told TVP World that the current European agricultural model is significantly outmoded.
We tend to dissociate the economical aspects and the environmental aspects. And actually, what's going on right now is that we're looking at the economical aspects, but we totally forget what was supposed to be the goal of the new common agricultural policy, which is actually the environment. And it is totally neglected.
Poland has consistently expressed strong opposition to the deal, primarily due to concerns over its potential negative impact on Polish and European agriculture. Although the agreements are due to be signed on Saturday, Polish Agriculture Minister Stefan Krajewski, speaking in Berlin on Friday, stressed that Poland is still working to block the deal.
We have done everything we could to block the signing of the agreement. Even though we did not build a blocking minority, we will continue to oppose the agreement.
The EU-Mercosur deal is expected to be a game-changer, profoundly modifying economic relations between Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay and the 27 EU member states. The Comprehensive Partnership and Trade Agreement covers a wide range of sectors, with agriculture being the most contentious.
Italy and Japan are deepening diplomatic ties as Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni meets her Japanese counterpart in Tokyo, marking 160 years of relations. The two leaders upgraded their partnership and pledged closer cooperation on defense, critical minerals, and regional security. Meloni's next stop is Oman as her Asian tour continues.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni traveled to Tokyo on Wednesday, where she met her counterpart Sanae Takaichi to celebrate 160 years of diplomatic relations between Italy and Japan. The two countries decided to upgrade their current strategic partnership to a special strategic partnership to strengthen ties across a range of fields, including security and culture.
Japan and Italy have long cooperated as strategic partners, sharing common values and principles. But on the occasion of Giorgia's visit, marking the 160th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations, we have resolved to elevate our bilateral relationship to that of a special strategic partnership, aiming for even greater heights.
Meloni and Takaichi also agreed to strengthen supply chains of critical minerals, as both countries share concerns over China dominating rare earth minerals market.
We agreed with the Prime Minister to work together to safeguard strategic technologies and strengthen supply chains, especially when it comes to critical minerals.
The two countries have a joint trilateral project with the United Kingdom to develop a next-generation fighter jet they aim to deploy by 2035.
The initiative is more than just a defense strategy. It's aimed at strengthening security in the Euro-Atlantic and Indo-Pacific regions. Our cooperation is an effective answer to the risks and threats we are facing now. As the strategic environment surrounding the Indo-Pacific region becomes increasingly tough, close collaboration between like-minded countries has become more important than ever for the peace and prosperity of the region. The summit was an opportunity to bring us and our countries closer.
After Tokyo, Meloni will head to Oman, the last stop of her Asian tour.
Central and Eastern Europe's trade-heavy economies are holding up better than expected amid global tariff tensions and supply chain disruptions. Despite risks from Chinese auto imports and a sluggish German economy, the region shows surprising resilience, bolstered by intra-European trade and competitive labor costs.
Despite its heavy reliance on trade, Central and Eastern Europe has adapted better than expected to global tariffs launched by the Trump administration last year. The European Union's large common market and free trade zone have provided a cushion against global disruptions.
If you think about trade in the region, 50% of trade is intra-regional, so right there you have an ability to withstand a little bit of what's happening globally.
Relatively low labor costs also make the region an attractive destination for foreign investors, particularly from Western Europe.
You have a cost position that makes it attractive for international strategic investors in manufacturing, automotive, etc., to invest in Central and Eastern Europe as a point of manufacturing for Western Europe.
Businesses in the region have adapted by becoming more resilient.
Countries have reacted by becoming more resilient. Companies have adapted in their supply chains. Companies are reorganizing.
While the region has adapted well so far, trade-related threats like increased Chinese competition in the automotive sector haven't gone away.
We are more and more less competitive to Chinese car makers. They are entering European market. It is really attractive market for them.
It's especially a concern for smaller economies in the region with large auto industries like Slovakia and the Czech Republic. Together with Hungary and the Baltic states, these economies also rank as some of the world's most heavily dependent on trade.
Of course, those countries that are more exposed to Europe and to value chains in Europe are more affected. Those that are actually concentrated in the manufacturing and auto sectors, like Czech or Hungary or Slovak Republic, they have less diversification than Poland and other countries that have proven resilient.
Economic stagnation in Germany, the region's largest trading partner, could also weigh on growth.
In the outlook, the German economy gets weaker. That will have a negative impact, but it is one of the downside risks for Central and Eastern Europe.
While challenges remain, Central and Eastern Europe has proven adaptive in the face of global disruptions. Maciej Wilowski for TVP World.
Polish customs officers have seized more than 70 kilograms of drugs at Warsaw Strip Airport. Officers with the National Revenue Administration carried out the bust. The Mazovian Customs and Revenue Office is leading the investigation under the supervision of the Warsaw Ochota District Prosecutor.
Busted at a Polish airport. This 64-year-old British national was stopped by customs officers after arriving on a flight from Tel Aviv. During a routine inspection, officers here are seen asking the man to open his luggage. Upon searching 3 suitcases, 356 packages filled with green plant material were found. Initial drug tests identified the substance as khat. Commonly used in parts of Africa and the Middle East, the drug contains cathinone, a substance with effects similar to amphetamines, and remains strictly illegal in Poland. The result was later confirmed by laboratory analysis. In total, authorities seized more than 70 kilograms of the drug, worth an estimated 82,000 euros. The British national was arrested and charged with smuggling a significant quantity of narcotics. Court ordered 3 months of pretrial detention, and cash found on the suspect was also seized. If convicted, he could face up to 20 years in prison.
And with that, we conclude this edition of Midday Report. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.